Welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Monday, the 28th of March. This morning or today, I would like to talk to you a little bit about being surprised by pandemic comebacks. I think tomorrow I'll probably pick up on that topic as well. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to apologize to all those folks who a week ago, yesterday, were gathered at the Agricultural Hall for our Ukrainian aid dinner, which raised over $9,000. Absolutely amazing and still counting. Just incredible. But really what I'd like to talk about is what happened to this introvert over COVID. Okay, we'll just go back a few years ago. We used to have, parish dinners and things like that. And in particular, places like St. James in Halifax, toward the end of my time there, we started having dinners that were hosted by the youth group. And people would sit at tables together and have a great time. We'd have our Christmas turkey dinner for the community. And we just, had a great time, celebrated. I would sit down and eat eventually. But for the most part, I spent a lot of time walking from table to table, same thing at coffee hours, and just checking to make sure people had enough coffee or had enough to eat, just checking with people, seeing how they were. And it was second nature. Now, I'm an introvert, so, preaching and leading worship for 2 services, and then going to coffee hour and chatting with people. By the time we hit 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, I was absolutely zonked. And it wouldn't be a surprise if you saw me with a book in my face, but more like my head buried in a book in my chair on a Sunday afternoon, snoring away because I was so exhausted. Well, then we moved to Petawawa, or Round Lake, where I wasn't acting as a priest. I did a few services for the parish of the valley, but for the most part, I just went to worship and came home and had my day and wasn't too introvertly zonked out. And then, of course, COVID hit, and for a long time, we had our services online. And then when we didn't have coffee hour. So it was sort of just gather with people, drive home from Edgerton, and, be exhausted, have a bit of a nap. It didn't occur to me that all of that time as an introvert, being able to just go home and not interact with people that closely or that many people at a time would have a profound impact on me. It never even thought of it. So when we got to the dinner last Sunday, Rob and I, we got there a bit early so that we could talk to the folks who were preparing everything and be there to pray to open the dinner. I just, got in line and got my food and sat down, and a couple of parishioners joined us where we were sitting, and we just sat and talked, and it was a great time, had lots of fun, saw lots of people. But it wasn't until on our way home that I realized that my normal way of being the priest at anything like that, especially when there's more than just the people of the congregation there, when you have the community, normally I would have walked up and down between the tables and asked people if they had enough coffee, and if not, go get it for them, or ask them if they had enough food, and just chit chat and welcome people and get to know them and be glad that they were there. And last Sunday at the Ukrainian aid dinner, I didn't do that. I sat and talked to the people who were around me, and never even occurred to me that maybe, I should be getting out there and introducing myself. So for those of you who are at the dinner, I apologize that I didn't jump up and get to know you better and wander between the aisles and just be a little bit more, a lot more interactive with you as the priest in town. So here's your impetus. You need to have another one so I can come and I can fix that problem. But it occurred to me that during COVID, when we were, encouraged to stay home, to stay away, to stay distanced, that for those people who were extroverts, who needed to be around other people, that must have been a really powerfully difficult time for them. For people who get their energy from being with other people and being in a group and talking and getting ideas going, that must have been really painful to stay home and to work from home and not have that source of energy filling you up all the time. That must have been, for many people, we know already that mental health became a big issue during our recognition of mental health problems and concerns became a big issue during COVID, during the pandemic. But maybe not on a mental health level, but simply for the well-being of people's mental health, recognizing that for extroverts, being locked in and being away from people must have been darn right hard for you. And hopefully you were able to develop and enhance your introverted side, that part of you. No one is 100% extrovert or introvert. We all have aspects of both. So for those of you who are strong extroverts, I really do pray that that time of pandemic and being locked down was a time of growth for you, that you were able to dig deeper into the introvert side and become more comfortable with it. For those of us who were introverts, especially strong introverts, the pandemic was probably a little less heartbreaking and a little bit more soul healing, because we were given permission to just do our normal thing, the thing that we're most comfortable with, hanging out, being by ourselves, being in small groups, not having our energy because we get our energy from the quiet and just being in large groups. Tends to suck the energy out of us, the way for extroverts being by themselves tends to drain the energy from them. So for introverts, the pandemic was maybe not as bad a thing as it could have been. But for those of us who are introverts on this, we're not post-pandemic, but on this coming back into the society part of the pandemic, we need to take a close look at just exactly how much we thrived during the pandemic in our introversion. We need to find that spot where we're comfortable, but we also then, I think, need to push a little bit beyond the comfort zone and say, okay, how do I get back into society? How do I find safe ways to be in big crowds? And that really is a big thing for me, is I need to get to a place where I'm more comfortable again in talking to strangers and just going up and checking in with people and being present in a loud, noisy atmosphere. Because the fact is that as much as it kind of scares me right now, as I'm easing back into being in society, I also know that there are lots of days where I may have come home absolutely exhausted after being sort of introverted, like extroverted out of my mind. I also came away with great memories and incredible conversations and laughter and tears and hugs and handshakes and all kinds of things that really enhanced my life. So I need to be careful to think, instead of dreading, oh no, I have to go out into public or I have to go into big crowds again. I have to remember that some of my greatest memories have come from working out of my extroverted side, which needs exercise. So I guess my challenge for you today is to think about the way that you work. If you're an extrovert, maybe keep practicing your introverted skills, although you've had lots of time to do that. And if you're an introvert, start easing back into situations in which you need to enhance your extroverted side, that part of you that does go out and talk to people, that takes a deep breath and charges into a big filled room again, and just allow yourself to be. If you're worried, be worried. Pray and ask God to help you, keep you calm and to lead you through it, because there is no excuse for us to allow the pandemic to change the essence of who we are. We are good, kind people who need to be with other good, kind people. And one of the things we need to do is recognize that we need to get out there. And as introverts, as people who maybe like to be quiet or be by ourselves or with a small group, that's okay. We can still do that. But at the same time, we need to take the adventure, take that leap into getting back into the real world that does indeed include being in loud spaces with lots of people, where we need to be ourselves, but we need to be present and willing to engage and be in conversation. So again, I apologize for everybody who was at the dinner that I didn't talk to. I was truly unaware at the time of what was going on, but in reflection, I realized that I was allowing myself to sink into that safe, introverted place. And that's not okay for me. As a priest, as a pastor in a community, I need to emerge from that. And I promise, I'm going to work on that. So you do your part in working on your other side, and I'll do my part on mine. And soon we'll meet up again together, and we'll enjoy each other and our sides. Have a great day, and God bless.